Welcome to Revenge Chronicles. Tonight, we are diving into a story that proves blood isn't always thicker than betrayal. Whether you're a long-time viewer or just discovering our channel, prepare yourself for a tale of family greed that will make you question everyone at your next holiday dinner. The taste of copper flooded my mouth as I stared at my hospital room door. Through the narrow window, I could see him, my husband Marcus, not rushing toward me with flowers and tears, but methodically rifling through my purse at the nurse's station. My gold wedding ring felt like it was constricting around my finger as I watched him slip my credit cards into his jacket pocket with the practiced efficiency of a pickpocket. The morphine drip couldn't numb what I was seeing. The man I'd loved for 10 years was robbing me while I lay broken from a truck that had tried to kill me. My name is Nina, I'm 34, and I'm a financial analyst who just learned that family loyalty has a very specific price tag. This is the story of how I made them pay it back with interest. 4 days earlier, I'd been sitting in a lawyer's office, crying tears of joy as I learned my aunt had left me $29 million. The inheritance was supposed to save us. Marcus had been struggling with his startup, and I'd been supporting us both on my non-profit salary for years. I'd called him immediately from the parking garage, practically screaming with happiness through the phone. $29 million, Marcus. We're free. His response should have been the first warning. The silence stretched too long before he spoke, his voice strangely calm. Where are you exactly? Still at the lawyer's office. I'm coming home right now to celebrate. No, wait. Come straight home. And Nina, don't tell anyone else. Not your sister, not your mother. This is our news. I'd driven toward home with my heart singing, imagining how we'd finally pay off his debts, how his business dreams could become reality. I was so lost in our bright future that I barely noticed the black truck that appeared in my rearview mirror on that quiet stretch of highway. The impact when it struck my car wasn't an accident, it was surgical precision. The truck crossed 2 lanes specifically to slam into my driver's side door, sending my Honda spinning into a concrete barrier. As consciousness faded, my last coherent thought wasn't about pain or fear. It was confusion. The truck had been aiming for me. Now, watching Marcus stuff my wallet into his designer jacket, a jacket I'd bought him for his birthday, that confusion crystallized into terrifying clarity. The man I'd trusted with my life had tried to end it. I pressed the nurse call button with a shaking finger. When Nurse Jackie arrived, her kind face immediately shifted to concern at my expression. Honey, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. That man, I whispered, pointing toward the hallway where Marcus was now chatting casually with a young nurse. He just took my purse. But he's not here to visit me, he hasn't even asked if I'm alive. Jackie's expression hardened as understanding dawned. She stepped into the hallway, her voice carrying the authority of someone who dealt with plenty of family drama. Excuse me, sir. I need you to return that patient's belongings immediately. Marcus turned, and for just a moment his mask slipped. Instead of the devoted husband act, I saw cold calculation in his eyes. When he spotted me sitting up in bed, watching him, that calculation turned to barely concealed rage. Nina. He walked into my room without the purse, his empty hands a small victory. You're awake. Not thank God you're okay, or I was so worried. Just acknowledgement of an inconvenient fact. Where have you been? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. I've been here for 4 days. Handling things. He sat in the visitor's chair like he was conducting a business meeting. The car's totaled. Insurance is being difficult. I've been dealing with the paperwork. And my purse. What about it? The brazenness was breathtaking. He was looking me in the eye and lying about what I'd literally just witnessed. This wasn't the man I'd married, or maybe it was, and I'd just never seen him clearly before. Marcus, I need to tell you something. About why I was at the lawyer's office. I watched his face carefully as I spoke. Aunt Hattie left me money. A lot of money. His reaction was everything I needed to confirm my worst fears. No surprise, no joy, no excitement. Just a quick flash of something that looked almost like disappointment. How much? He asked. $29 million. This time his mask stayed perfectly in place. That's wonderful, honey. We'll need to be careful about how we handle it. Make sure the right people are involved in managing it. The right people. Not we. The right people. My phone rang from the bedside table, the screen somehow intact despite the accident. My sister Tamara's name flashed across it. Answer it, Marcus said quickly. But don't mention the money. Not yet. I picked up the call, putting it on speaker. Tam? Nina? Oh my God, I just heard about the accident. Are you okay? Where are you? The hospital had contacted her as my emergency contact when I'd first arrived unconscious. Mercy General. I'm going to be fine. Thank goodness. Listen, I'm having a barbecue tomorrow. Ryan's firm partners are coming over. You should come when you're released. You and Marcus. I looked at my husband, who was nodding enthusiastically. Actually, he interjected, loud enough for Tamara to hear, I might stop by today. Nina needs rest, but I could use the distraction. Perfect, Tamara said. Ryan's excited to finally talk business with you. The call ended, and Marcus was already standing. I should go. Let you recover. He leaned down to kiss my forehead, and I caught the scent of expensive cologne I knew we couldn't afford. Marcus, I said as he reached the door. I love you. He paused, his hand on the doorknob. When he turned back, his smile didn't reach his eyes. I know. Not I love you too. Just I know. After he left, I stared at the ceiling and let the pieces fall into place. The truck that had hunted me across 2 lanes. His strange calm when I'd told him about the money. His immediate instruction not to tell anyone. His urgency to join Tamara and her wealthy husband Ryan at their barbecue. I wasn't dealing with a failed marriage. I was dealing with a planned attempt on my life. The next morning, Nurse Jackie brought more than my medication. She brought a manila folder and a grim expression. Nina, honey, I need to show you something. Hospital security pulled this footage after I reported the incident with your purse. The tablet showed grainy black and white security camera footage. Timestamp, 4 days ago, the day after my accident. Marcus entering the hospital, walking directly past the ICU where I lay unconscious, and approaching the front desk. I watched him flash his ID, point toward the property storage area, and leave 20 minutes later with my purse tucked under his arm. He never asked to see you, Jackie said quietly. Never asked about your condition. Never spoke to a single doctor. He told the desk clerk he needed to secure your valuables for when you woke up. The violation was complete. While I'd been fighting for my life, he'd been conducting a robbery. But the real bombshell was in the folder Jackie handed me. Credit card fraud alerts, she explained. Your cards have been very busy. 5,000 at Gucci yesterday. 2,000 at that fancy steakhouse downtown. And this morning. She paused, checking another paper. A $10,000 transfer to something called Legal Services Retainer. Marcus wasn't just stealing from me. He was spending my money to prepare for what came next. I picked up the hospital phone and dialed the law firm that managed my inheritance. When Mr. Hayes answered, I told him everything, the truck, the theft, Marcus's behavior. Ms. Taylor, he said, his voice grave. You need legal representation immediately. I'm sending our best litigator to you right now. Her name is Brenda Castellanos. Don't speak to anyone else until she arrives. 2 hours later, my room door opened, and a woman who looked like she could level buildings with her stare walked in. Tall, impeccably dressed, carrying herself with the confidence of someone who'd never lost a case that mattered. Ms. Taylor, I'm Brenda Castellanos. I understand you're in immediate danger. Before I could respond, Marcus appeared in the doorway behind her, and my blood turned to ice water. He was wearing a brand new suit, his hair perfectly styled, looking like success incarnate. And on his arm was a woman I'd never seen before, elegant, beautiful, expensive-looking in every way I wasn't. Nina, Marcus said, his voice dripping with false sympathy, I want you to meet someone very important. This is Veronica. She's going to help us sort out your situation. I looked at Brenda, who was staring at the couple with an expression of growing confusion and horror. I'm sorry, Brenda said slowly. Did you just say this woman is here to help with your wife's legal situation? Marcus smiled. Veronica is the best lawyer in Atlanta. She's agreed to handle Nina's competency hearing. The words hit me like a second truck. Competency hearing. Brenda's voice went deadly quiet. Mr. Vance, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I am Brenda Castellanos of Hayes and Associates. I am already representing your wife. And you. She looked at the woman on Marcus's arm. Who exactly are you? Veronica stepped forward, her confidence faltering slightly. I'm Veronica Reed, attorney at law. Mr. Vance retained me to protect his interests regarding his wife's inheritance. There seems to be some confusion about her mental state following her accident. The silence that followed was deafening. I watched understanding dawn across Brenda's face like a sunrise, if sunrises involved the promise of total destruction. Ms. Reed, Brenda said, her voice like silk over steel. What retainer fee did Mr. Vance pay you? $10,000. Why? Brenda pulled out her phone, tapped a few buttons, then showed the screen to everyone in the room. This is a credit monitoring alert for my client's American Express card. A $10,000 charge to legal services yesterday morning. Marcus went pale. Brenda continued. Mr. Vance paid you to represent him against his wife using his wife's stolen credit card. Ms. Reed, you've been unknowingly participating in fraud. Veronica snatched the phone, stared at the alert, then slowly turned to look at Marcus. You paid me, with her money, to have her declared incompetent so you could control her money? It's not like that, Marcus started, but Brenda cut him off. Security! She called loudly. 2 hospital security guards appeared so quickly I realized they'd been waiting in the hallway. Mr. Marcus Vance, Brenda announced, you're under citizen's arrest for fraud, theft, and conspiracy. Ms. Reed, I suggest you contact your malpractice insurance immediately. As the guards moved toward Marcus, he made his final mistake. Instead of surrendering, he lunged at me. You greedy bitch, he screamed, his hands reaching for my throat. That money should be mine. I'm your husband. He never made contact. The security guards tackled him to the floor before he got within 3 feet of my bed. As they handcuffed him, I heard him screaming about how this was all a misunderstanding, how I was crazy, how he was the real victim. But I wasn't listening to Marcus anymore. I was looking at Brenda, who was on her phone with what sounded like the district attorney's office. Yes, we have evidence of wire fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to commit serious harm, she was saying. I need detectives at Mercy General immediately. 20 minutes later, as Marcus was being loaded into a police car, I asked Brenda the question that had been burning in my mind. The truck. Can you prove it? Working on it, she said. But Marcus just gave us everything we needed. His attack on you, the stolen cards, the fraudulent legal retainer, it's enough to hold him while we investigate the bigger picture. She paused, looking at me with something that might have been respect. Ms. Taylor, your husband didn't just try to harm you for money. He tried to harm you because he's incapable of seeing you as anything other than an obstacle to what he thinks he deserves. 3 days later, at a secure private hospital where I'd been moved for protection, Brenda walked into my new room with a folder full of evidence and a smile that promised justice. We found your truck driver, she announced. Unemployed construction worker named Dale Morrison. When faced with 25 to life for conspiracy to commit vehicular assault, he talked. Your husband paid him $15,000 cash to make it look like an accident. She opened the folder, revealing bank records. Marcus withdrew the money from a joint account the morning after you called him about the inheritance. We also found text messages between Marcus and your sister. My blood chilled. Tamara? She knew Nina. The messages show she was pushing him to handle the Nina problem before you could ruin everything with your newfound wealth. Apparently, your brother-in-law Ryan had promised to invest in Marcus's business, but only if certain family complications were resolved. The betrayal was complete. Not just my husband, but my sister and her husband had conspired to harm me for money that was legally, morally, and completely mine. But Brenda wasn't finished. There's more. Tamara and Ryan filed an emergency conservatorship petition yesterday, claiming you're mentally incompetent due to trauma from your accident. Your mother signed an affidavit supporting their claim. The folder contained my mother's statement describing me as always unstable and jealous of Tamara's success and unable to handle responsibility. My entire family had lined up to steal my inheritance, and when their first plan failed, they'd moved to legal theft. When's the hearing? I asked. Monday. But we are not waiting for Monday. That evening, I sat in the back of an unmarked police car with Brenda and 2 detectives, watching my mother's house from across the street. Through the dining room windows, I could see them all gathered around the Sunday dinner table: Marcus, Tamara, Ryan, and my mother. They were toasting with champagne, celebrating their anticipated victory. On my signal, Detective Rodriguez said into his radio, All units move. We walked up to the front door, which stood open to the warm evening air. From the entryway, we could hear every word of their celebration. To Nina, Ryan was saying, raising his glass. Who taught us that sometimes the black sheep of the family provides the most wool. The laughter that followed was the last sound they made as free people. Atlanta Police Department, Detective Rodriguez announced, stepping into the dining room. Marcus Vance, Tamara Brooks, Ryan Brooks, and Patricia Washington, you're all under arrest. I stepped out from behind the detective, and the looks on their faces were worth every moment of pain I'd endured. Marcus tried to run but was tackled before he reached the kitchen. Tamara screamed that this was all a misunderstanding. Ryan demanded to call his lawyer. My mother just sat there, staring at me like I was a ghost she'd hoped would stay buried. The conspiracy to commit fraud, theft, and vehicular assault involving $29 million is over, Brenda announced to the room. We have recorded conversations, financial records, and witness testimony. As they were led away in handcuffs, Marcus screamed over his shoulder, "You'll never see a penny of that money. Ryan has connections you can't imagine." But Ryan's connections couldn't help him. The wire fraud was federal. The conspiracy was ironclad. And the conservatorship documents contained perjury so blatant that even the family court judge recommended criminal charges. 6 months later, I sat in the Superior Court of Fulton County watching justice be served with surgical precision. Marcus got 25 years for conspiracy to commit vehicular assault and wire fraud. He never showed remorse, just anger that his plan had failed. Our divorce was finalized 3 months into his sentence, when I filed uncontested papers that he refused to sign until his lawyer explained he'd receive nothing either way. Ryan got 15 years and was permanently barred from the financial industry. His family disowned him for bringing scandal to their name. Tamara got 10 years for conspiracy. She spent her final free moments screaming that I had always been jealous of her life. She was right, I had been jealous. But not anymore. My mother received 5 years probation for perjury and filing false legal documents. She calls me every week, leaving voicemails that swing between begging forgiveness and blaming me for destroying the family. I've never answered. The most satisfying moment came when Veronica Reed, the lawyer Marcus had hired, voluntarily returned the $10,000 retainer to my account and testified against him at trial. She'd realized that being duped into fraud was worse than admitting she'd been duped. Here's what I learned: when a sudden windfall reveals who your family really is, believe them the first time. My inheritance didn't change anyone, it just turned on the lights in a room that had always been full of predators. The $29 million is mine, safely invested and managed by people who see me as a client, not a target. I built a new life far from the wreckage of my old one, surrounded by chosen family who celebrate my success instead of plotting to steal it. But the real victory wasn't the money or even the justice. It was realizing that I was never the problem in my family, I was the solution they'd been trying to eliminate. Have you ever had family members show their true colors when money was involved? Share your story in the comments below. Like this video if you believe that sometimes the family you choose is better than the family you're born with. And subscribe for more stories about people who fought back and won.